Hello. We are going to be talking about breastfeeding in public. My name is Amira Coster,
And I'm Shelby Leonard.
and this is for our oral comm class. So the topic for our discussion today will be breastfeeding in public. I'm going to start off with mentioning that breastfeeding always seems to be the cause of uproar amongst all kinds of individuals. So, what exactly could be so absurd about a mom feeding and nourishing her child? Absolutely nothing. Ever since the developed world fully embraced artificial formula in 1950s, and it soon became the feeding method of choice, breastfeeding became less popular, less mainstream, and since then, breasts have mainly become sexual objects. So, breastfeeding, it's also called nursing. It is the process of a mother feeding her child breast milk. It could either be directly from the breast or by expressing and pumping out and giving it to the baby in a bottle. Breastfeeding it provides many calories and nutrients for the infant. Not only do you have the macronutrients, your fat, proteins, and carbohydrates, but you also have the micronutrients, which is your vitamins and minerals. Now, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics policy statement on breastfeeding, women who do not have any health problems should exclusively breastfeed their infants for at least the first 6 months after birth. Not only does breastfeeding have miraculous, immediate, and long-term effects on baby, but it has remarkable advantages on their physical effects on the mother as well. On top of that, it also saves money because formula costs a lot of money. So breastfeeding mothers can enjoy the physical effects, and they can also enjoy the health benefits and establishing that healthy bond with their baby.
And reproducing and breeding children in the world is vital to life. It's a part of nature. All of humanity must come to terms with all that goes and comes with it. This involves many things, and one of those things is for mothers that have the ability to nurture and nourish their children by breastfeeding at any time. So no matter where the place it may be, that's just a thing that mothers have to do. Just like everything in the world, breastfeeding has pros and cons, just like anything else. Most of the cons regarding to breastfeeding are considered personal opinions.
Yeah, definitely personal opinions. The most common con about breastfeeding is definitely breastfeeding in public. It does make other people in the room and that area that mom might be breastfeeding uncomfortable. Unfortunately, this discomfort applies to the nursing mother as well. So just by looking at being looked at by people with those stares that make you feel uncomfortable because they're uncomfortable, it makes mom uncomfortable, which is discouraging to her. So people really shouldn't feel uncomfortable about it, and there is a reason for that. Every human being in the world was born from their mother's womb, and for centuries mothers have breastfed their newborn infants. The single difference is simply a matter of where and when the mother would breastfeed her child. This is all the result of the fact that the Western culture possesses a built-in tendency to over-sexualize the female breasts.
For years, mothers who nurse in public have been protected by state breastfeeding laws. According to the National Conference of State Legislators, 49 states, the District of Columbia, and the Virgin Islands have laws that specifically allow women to breastfeed in any public or private location. And this is great for women, The government has undoubtedly worked trying hard to provide women with all the basic necessities once they deliver a child. Workplaces are now being equipped with wellness rooms specifically for lactating mothers to ensure that they can pump and store and to feed their child. Also, many offices and public places like railway stations, airports have a breastfeeding room which is specifically designed for lactating mothers to ensure privacy. And that's important too, like we were talking about earlier, mothers feel uncomfortable in public, so a private place is nice, but it shouldn't have to be something that they have to do, in private. And let's see, despite being protected from public nudity laws, mothers are still shamed for breastfeeding in public due to the effects that society has put on people in the Western culture. Some people say that being nude in public is against the law, therefore breastfeeding in public should be illegal. Although female breasts are intended for the sole purpose of feeding and nurturing babies, they have been viewed as sexual organs by society due to the over-sexualizing of the female breast for years.
So basically, the controversy of breastfeeding is pretty much a recent issue. We're looking back from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, which honestly, if you think about it, wasn't really that long ago. So during those times, mothers would be able to breastfeed their babies in public. No big deal at all. Anything before the 60s, moms were able to comfortably breastfeed their babies in public with men, women sitting beside them without any eyebrows raised, no fingers pointed, nothing. It's all just normal, and it was a natural thing for a mother to do. Unfortunately today, and anything since the development of artificial formula to feed a baby, things have changed. People do not view nursing in the same way as a natural way to feed your baby anymore. Today there are many different views on the issue of nursing in public, and the majority seem to be supportive of mothers who breastfeed wherever they may need to, which is also a really good thing. They seem to see it as a natural and normal act of nature, feeding and nourishing a child, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be.
When it comes to nursing, breasts are not sexual or disgusting, and it's sad that people, put labels on women like that. Although our culture identifies breasts primarily as enhancing the female sex appeal, other cultures view sexual appeal in other ways. For instance, the neck, hips, shoulders, feet. It varies according to culture, since sexual attractiveness is typically defined by many different attributes. The central function of the breast is the maternal feeding of infants. In Western culture, it has been demonstrated that breasts are viewed primarily as sexual objects. The American culture focuses on the sexual purpose of breasts rather than the function of breasts, which is sad because there's so much, they do so much, like they're not just a sexual object. They nourish your child, they bring up your child. Therefore, mothers feel discouraged and discomforted when attempting to breastfeed in public because people put these labels on them, and this leads them to lower breastfeeding rates, which in turn negatively affect women's and children's short-term and long-term health. People really need to accept and embrace the natural occurrence of breastfeeding and explain it to their children. Doing this will enable all future generations of people to comprehend the benefits of breastfeeding. I know in our day and time, there's some people that you'll ask if they're breastfeeding and they'll just automatically say, no, I'm not doing that. People say this about it and this, but they don't understand the importance behind it.
Yeah, that's so
And
true.
yeah, and even the bond with your baby, starting, bonding young like that is so important. According to the National Conference of State Legislators, they have submitted a Healthy People Initiative 2020 proposal, and the goal is to increase the proportion of mothers who breastfeed their babies in the early postpartum period to 81.9% by the year 2020. Every human being has to obtain proper nutrients one way or another. Although older children and adults eat meals at specific times throughout the entire day, infants must eat every few hours in order to provide for their growing bodies. Breastfeeding and nursing mothers cannot just disregard nourishing and feeding their infants for the simple reason that some people may feel uncomfortable seeing it and may escort them out or ask them to leave. That would be considered child neglect, which is part of child abuse and itself is against the law.
Yeah. So nursing and breastfeeding is a choice that a mother makes. It's a personal decision that she has to make, whether she wants to or not, after delivering her child. Breastfeeding, it provides a short-term and long-term effects for health benefits on both mother and child. There's there shows to be a great support in helping a mother lean towards making the choice to nourish her child with breast milk by education and classes, support groups that the mom can attend, either during pregnancy or after delivery. The support groups come in really handy after delivery, but the education classes should definitely be something that is started early on in like health classes. Speaking on that, in education, the amount of lactation education in the curriculum, the high school curriculum onwards, even in nursing school and even including med school, they just do not cover enough topics as far as breastfeeding goes in general, like the process of milk making and which is called lactogenesis. They mainly just cover a very shallow area on breastfeeding or related to breastfeeding, which is the anatomy of the breast in general. So breastfeeding laws protect breastfeeding moms from nudity and indecency laws. The government has also made tremendous effort in providing public support for lactating mothers. They've provided special custom rooms specifically for the lactating mother in places like railways and airports. The benefits of breastfeeding have come together, constructing a chain of benefits for the mother, for nursing mother, the infant, and the child, and the economy. Mothers need to have the ability to nourish their babies at any time and any place. Denying a mother nursing her right to feed her child in public or anywhere defeats the purpose of all the benefits, therefore breaking that chain. People who do not agree with breastfeeding in public should open up to educating themselves about the pros that come with breastfeeding.
So we hope that you have gained information on breastfeeding in public and how important it is to both the mother and baby.
So if you do happen to see a mom nursing in public, make sure you let her know that you are supportive of it and that you are proud of her. Some moms just need to hear that. They need to hear that someone other than themselves is proud of them for stepping out there and being bold and not showing any kind of fear or embarrassment by feeding their baby in public from something completely natural that's just part of our women anatomy. Well, thank you so much.